Good morning.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to Sunday service. Many of you know me. My name is Bharati, and this is my cohort, Lorna, and it's our joy to be with you today. Also helping us out this morning, well, besides the numerous people who are behind the scenes or occasionally on the scenes, are Manisha and Pavani. And as we were getting ready upstairs this morning, Vajra was up there and he's going, oh, or maybe it was downstairs, whatever. But anyway, he said it's like this morning, here it is, Bharati and the all-girl blessers. Which isn't the common thing, but we're all happy to be here with you. So, I always just love seeing what the topic is going to be, and then what in the heck is it about? And so when I saw, does God hide the truth? And I thought, well, really, I mean, yes and no is you can answer to most of these questions, but really I was thinking, well, more like we hide from the truth, you know. As you heard in the songs and in some of the chants, God reveals himself, God reveals herself in everything in nature. As it said so beautifully in the first song, every atom is his throne. There is nothing, whether in the material world or the energetic world, the world of thoughts, the world of consciousness, that is not there because it manifests from God. So we can just look around and in so many ways experience that truth. Yesterday evening out at Laurelwood, we had a kirtan, and we ended up having it outside because it was so lovely. And in the course of the evening, it kind of became cloudier and so forth. But at one point, not only were we just sitting out there, and there's the trees all around, and you look into the distance, and there's hills, and then there's mountains, and it's silhouettes of trees. It's just so lovely. But then at one point, there was a rainbow across the sky. And then, of course, a little later, we got the rain that was associated with the rainbow, and we just whooped under the canopy quickly. And then many of us could see out over the valley again. It was so beautiful. And between the view, the sights, that energetic aspect of the surroundings, and then we were chanting to God. You know, it's like, okay, what could be better? And yet, in fact, things can be even better. I like often to look in some other books that Swami Kriyananda wrote, rays of the same light that of the one light that we read from every week, is his kind of succinct version. But in earlier times, he had written a 3-volume sequence that covers the same general topic. So I thought, well, what's in there? It's an expanded version, kind of, but the expanded version came first. But anyway, so I thought, well, I'll see what the topic is called in this book, and it's called, instead of Does God Hide the Truth?, How to Attract True Inspiration. And associated with the Bible reading, the Spirit animates from within. And with the Bhagavad Gita reading, the little wave and the infinite ocean. And often it helps me to understand a little more deeply the topic and to see how I can relate to that. And then self-expansion, of course, comes from sensing God's presence everywhere. I was thinking again, I love the imagery in so many of these readings because I think about pizza dough in particular. And, you know, when I make it, in fact, what happens is it's pretty holy. And because you stretch and, you know, pretty soon the center is nothing. And so I was thinking, well, how do you expand outward without getting that little thinness that's in there? Now, thinness is not really an issue with me in other ways, but And I was realizing it's just like Yogananda said, what we need is center everywhere and then circumference nowhere. We can expand as far as we can as long as we maintain that center. And if we're able to do that, then we can gradually expand and expand and expand, and we won't end up with holes in the middle. I was listening to a talk by Swami Kriyananda on this topic. For one thing, it just is always helpful for me to hear his voice. It'll just kind of calm me down a little bit and help me center into what it is I'm wanting to share. And he was talking about truth and how we can know the truth, and how truth is not facts. That's not enough, but it's something deeper. It might be related to beauty, to inspiration, and really it boils down to attunement with higher consciousness. And for me, it was very interesting to get this topic when it was my turn to share service with you, because my spiritual name, Bharati, actually means devoted to truth. So I thought, okay, this is a good sign for me to delve into that a little more deeply. And what it comes down to eventually is that it's not enough to believe that we know the truth. We have to experience it. And how do we experience it? Well, there's many ways. We can start to experience it through nature, through friendships. But to really get into the heart of it, there's meditation. Some of us, I'm going to tell you a little story about myself and my early experience with meditation. When I discovered Ananda, which I did down at the Expanding Light in California, I was teaching school in rural Alaska. I was living in an Eskimo village way out on the Bering Sea coast. And so I wanted to, I called a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, and said, during the summer, I want to go to a workshop or a retreat or something, because I'd been just feeling like I wanted something more in my life. And one of her suggestions was that we go to Ananda. So that's what we did. And it was an instantaneous fit for me. I'd read the autobiography of a yogi, I think maybe 17 years before, and I thought it was wonderful. I just didn't feel a personal connection with it at that time. And I was later, of course, I'm going, well, heck, I could have been doing this all along, but, things happen when it's the right time for them to happen, when we're actually ready to take our next steps. And so I went back, of course, to my job in Kipnik, Alaska, and I had learned Hong Sa and energization. And so, unfortunately, my friend, we had agreed we'd meditate at the same time every day to be supportive to each other, and then we'd talk on the phone every week to see how we were doing. She had been meditating a long time and was already a Kriyaban, but she was willing to do this for me. So I'll tell you what, my mind is like, phew. So I'd sit down to meditate, and my goal was 15 minutes, which I know to most people doesn't sound like a huge goal, but it was impossible. It's how it felt to me anyway. I'd sit down, and I'd sit for 15 minutes, but my mind would, in the beginning, I couldn't probably do a minute of concentration. My mind was like a total flibbertigibbet. It's all over the place. And through the years, it has improved. I want you to know that, but it still is. I'm not natural at that, let me tell you. So what I've really learned from it, though, is the part about just coming back, Just no matter where it goes, what's happening, don't go there with it. Don't stress over it, but just always come back. But what helped me so much at that time was something I could do. It wasn't like Hang Sa, the way I perceived it at that time, was not doing. I needed to not let my mind wander. I needed to not go off. But since I couldn't easily do that, it had the potential to be extremely frustrating. And I didn't want to get into that either. So fortunately, I had learned the energization exercises. And that ended up being what really got me moving. And I wanted to read you just a little brief excerpt from Rays of the Same Light. Like all things natural, the human body itself is made to permit life to flow through it, through the spine especially, and from the spine outward into the nervous system. True religion teaches man how to fill his body and his entire being from within with divine vitality. And that's what energization is all about, the ability to feel, to tense with will, relax and feel that divine vitality within our own bodies. And as we practice that day after day, it's become so much easier to sense that in other ways. We learn to feel the presence of God within us through that simple series of exercises. And then when we sit to meditate, we have an experience of the feeling already to some extent. And then, at least for me, I was able to take that feeling and deepen it, to recognize it, and to enjoy it, and to expand it in my meditations. I wanted to end with this wonderful reading from Whispers from Eternity, Yogananda's book of prayer demands and poems. Let me feel that thou and I are one. When the sparks of cosmic creation flew from under thy crucible of love, I danced with all the lights that heralded the coming of myriad worlds. I am a little spark of thy joyous cosmic fire. O thou Son of Life, as thy nectar poured into the little cups of human minds, filled with molten liquid of vital sparks, they thought to contain thy golden infinity in the smallness of their human feelings. In each fragile, undulating mirror of human flesh, I see reflected thy restless dance of omnipresent power. In the lambent waters of life, I behold thy ever-steady, almighty life. Teach me, Christ-like, by the power of concentration, to still the restless storms of desire raging on the lake of my mind. Stilling those waters, I lovingly behold thy unruffled face of cosmic stillness. Cause the little wave of my life to subside, that thy consciousness in me spread out to become thine own vastness. Let me feel my heart throbbing in thy breast, my feet moving with thy energy, thy breath breathing through mine, thy energy actively moving my arms, thy thoughts weaving all the thoughts in my brain. When I cry, thy soft sigh within me wakens me to thy joy. In thy playfulness, little bubble visions of thy creation float dancingly in the chamber of my dreams, which manifest in my sleep of delusion. The meteoric will courses through the skies of my own willpower. Make me feel that it is thou who art I. Oh, make me thyself, that I behold my little bubble of self ever floating in thee. We'll take a moment of silence.